We are back with Bernie and Sean here talking about what's happening with Xandeum. And guys, we got to get into that, how this thing is actually going to get rolled out, because I get that pNodes are super important. I know that we want to get them all over the world, but how do we get there?
Yeah, so it all starts right now in March 2025. March 25th is the big day when you will be able to run a pNode on our DevNet, right? And we do that all in eras. It's the Deep South era, the first era now. We're going to have 300 pNodes in DevNet. You will be able to buy them in our pNode store for 35,000 ZAND. That is less than $100. You can buy ZAND on any exchange.
For now.
For now, absolutely. And we've been going, upwards against the trend for a week or two now. So that was really nice to see. And get these pNodes. They're limited to 300 in the Deep South era. Then we're going to have the South era, which is the complete prototype. We're going to have like 1,000 pNodes there. So that's 700 more. Then we go to the mine era, which is a big, big thing with the Frankfurt release, the first one in the mine era. That's about a minimum viable product. So we will be out there on mainnet then. And we will have our own apps like that Wikipedia, decentralized Wikipedia alternative out there. But then the DevNet will stay, right? And then at some point after the mine era, it's going to be the central era. And in that central era, we're going to build out the whole BFT between the pNodes. So it's all going to be made blockchain grade. Where we make it fault tolerant, not only against crashes, but also against potentially malicious players that, put a pNode out there and try to alter the data and stuff like that. And in that era, the DevNet will transition into a testnet.
Okay.
So you've bought your right to run a pNode in DevNet. It'll automatically transition over to our testnet. And the difference between a testnet and DevNet is the testnet will mimic mainnet circumstances, right? So with the main era, we're going to be starting with mainnet. And then in the central era, right after that, we will have our testnet up there, and your license that you buy now will automatically transition over. And then we will see how many pNodes do we have on mainnet, which of course depends on adoption and how many apps will be there, how much will they store and stuff like that. But if it takes off, which we all assume and build for, it'll scale up, right? And if we have like those exabytes or even zettabytes of storage someday, who knows when we're going to be there, but hopefully within a few years, we will need close to 1 million of pNodes. And if we grow after that, it's going to be millions of pNodes, right? And we need that same amount in testnet. So if we come up with new releases, we want to test it in lifelike scenarios.
Right.
That's what Solana has right now. Their testnet looks pretty much like their mainnet, just with one release ahead, right? One software release ahead. So that's how it's gonna develop there. And then we still might have once we transitioned from DevNet to testnet, we still might have a DevNet with like 10 pNodes or 100 pNodes, and we might just operate those ourselves. But what you do now when you get into it and buy a license to run pNodes on DevNet, they will automatically transition over to testnet. And as you see it in all the other blockchain projects, right? If you're there from the early days, you have your DevNet node now, that it will become a testnet node. You need stake on if you run a pNode on mainnet, which will be permissionless. You don't need to buy anything, right? It's a permissionless system. But you will need stake on your pNode in mainnet in order to earn money, right? Because your earnings will be proportional to 3 factors, right? The storage you provide, the performance and the reputation score, and the stake, right? So being early there just puts you in a position to, where there's not many people out there. There's not many other pNodes out there. So people will stake with you. And stake is surprisingly sticky. I can tell you that, right? And I know it from my own Solana validator that I'm running, right? There are so many people out there that just have, I don't know, millions and millions of dollars that they just stake with some validator and they stake it and then they forget it. They're, of course they're kind of the cheapskates. I love that word. I learned it recently from the English language. They always go, I can get, 10 basis points more there and there, and then whoop, they stake somewhere else. But that's also a little bit disincentivized because you always lose one epoch of rewards, right? Which is just 2 days on Solana, and it will be on Xandeum as well. But if you constantly try to cheapskate, then you're
going to be missing out 2 days every time you do so.
Yeah. So, and that's the reason a stake is really surprisingly sticky. And, that's the real reason for getting into this pNode adventure as early as you can. And, I'm not the one that can make that dream come true for you, right? I'm not guaranteeing you anything. It's a big decentralized chain. I can only talk about what I observe in other chains, right? There's Solana validators. I will never get 4 million SOL with my Solana validator as the early guys have, right? And you see it in Aptos, right? I personally know a guy here in Vegas that is running one of those early Aptos nodes, right? I will never get into that, right? It's just how it usually turns out, right? And don't sue me if it doesn't, because it's your business, right? Running a pNode is a little business, right?
And I a lot of node runners, right, myself included, I'm a terrible trader. Like, I just don't have the time. If I can set something up and, like you said, stake it, forget about it, and just earn passively long term, that's a much better way to go about it. But tell me, how do I get this thing set up? How easy is it to get a pNode up and running?
Yeah, so we have our documentation set up, and you just go to that page. You need to be up to date with everything. Be on our email list, be on our Discord, be on our X. So we will publish it in the next few days. Most likely it's already up when you watch this video. And there's the documentation. And it's like you need that Ubuntu server, an Ubuntu machine where you install that pNode. It could be a little computer that you have in your home, right? And it's very, very possible to run these things from home because it's low hardware requirements. You just need reliable and fast internet. But you can also do it in a virtual private server, a VPS, and the requirements are so low that we found one provider called Contabo. They offer that VPS for $5.50 a month.
Insane.
We don't want everyone to go there, so it needs to be decentralized, right?
I'll run mine at home. Don't worry.
Yeah. So that's a great thing, and $5.50 a month, and that'll suffice for quite a long time on Devnet, right? And it might even later on in mainnet, right? Maybe a little bit of a larger VPS instance and things like that, but there won't be crazy hardware requirements for pNodes.
And those virtual servers are always upgradable too, which is nice because I don't foresee our storage that we're using today being the same storage that we're using, a year from now. Things do change. Things do need to get upgraded, and that's just how technology works. We're always going to the next thing.
But then you just go through those docs, and it's as simple as getting that instance, downloading our software, and then it sets up everything for you. It hardens your Ubuntu instance so that password login is disabled. It sets up a tunnel for you, a secure tunnel via SSH, which is one of the most secure protocols out there, so that other people can't access your GUI to manage your pNode, right? Everyone has their own pNode, and it's all securely tunneled. And that's all automatic. And then once you're in there and you see that Xan miner GUI, it's as simple as it gets, right? You see automatically it scans your drives. How many drives do you have there? What's the free space? How much of that free space you want to dedicate to the Xandeum network? You can generate your key pair as simple as click that button that says generate key pair. Then you have it there, and there's a register button. You can register your pNode. And then there's a web page where you see all the pNodes that have been registered. So you will see yourself there with your public key, and that app will get upgraded over the releases to show you your performance score and everything that you make with your pNode.
You just said performance score. How do you gauge what's a good or a bad, pNode?
Yeah, so that's also a good question. And also that will evolve over the different releases and the eras that we're building it. In the very beginning, in the Deep South era, you just need to be there, right? in the South era, you need to be up 24/7, right? But we won't measure the transfer speed or the latency or stuff like that. That will come then in the mine era, where we will check your speed, the correctness of your response, the the latency, and all these type of things, right? So, and if there's any, like you're not responding at all, even after whatever, a second or so, then that's going to drive down your reputation score, right? Now that I'm telling that, it really reminds me of my safety score that I have on my Tesla app, right? I recently decided to go Tesla insurance with one of my cars, and they measure that safety score, and you pay insurance month by month by that safety score.
Don't you drive past 10 p.m.
Yeah, that's they made it 11 p.m. now.
11, okay.
Yeah. Wow. But if you drive late night, it'll penalize you, right? So it's a similar thing. Yeah, it will be that. And also that Tesla safety score, it evolves, right? They had 10 p.m. Now they listen to user feedback. They made 11 p.m. and many other things. They used to have like aggressive acceleration in there. People didn't like that. Many people buy a Tesla because they can accelerate 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, right?
I know, that's why I got one.
Yeah. So they took that out. And the same here, right? The performance and reputation score criteria are just like with the credit score, right? It changes like every month or so, right? It's always different criteria for these scoring things. So we will learn as we go. But it's going to be about, uptime and correctness of response and speed and latency and transfer speed and all these type of things.
How will the community be able to contribute to, these parameters long term? Like, who's going to define what a good pNode is, let's say, even after, mainnet launches?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's all governed by our DAO. So we have that DAO governance there, and our DAO is one of the most powerful. You have one of the most utility of any Solana project with our DAO, and that is it even has the upgrade keys for all the programs that are involved, right? So the DAO can literally introduce new releases of any of the piece of software that we have in the Xandeum network, and also all the rewards that are being collected after 94% are being sent to the pNodes, 4% is going directly into the DAO treasury, right? So that means the XAND token holders, XAND XAND, the XAND token holders have the full governance power. They have the full they capture the full economic benefits of that whole platform. And yeah,
I love it. That's so great when you actually get to have the community have a say. It's very different than the world we're living in right now, where if you want storage from anybody, it's got to be one of the big centralized three, essentially.
Yeah, it's going to be gradual, though, so I need to mention that in the beginning, the Xandeum Foundation has a lot of XAND tokens that they could use to vote, but most of the time, they just recuse themselves and let the community vote. And we will give more and more power to the community, but the whole mechanism is set up right now, right? It's that DAO is there. It's just that The DAO has a council, so there might be some council votes where the community is not even asked. And even if the community is asked, the Xandeum Foundation still has a lot of these tokens. But both of these things will gradually be reduced once the software is really there and we launch on mainnet, and gradually it will be fully community owned and fully community governed.
I love that gradual aspect of it, just because it allows us to be able to find the right node runners, the people that are going to be committed.
Yeah.
You get to find the people who actually want to be part of this network and want to contribute.
Yeah.
So, doing things overnight, never a good idea.
Yeah,
so finding the right people to actually contribute and be part of it, I think, is super important. And gradually is the way to go.
And let me reiterate on that too. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So, it's going to take time to build this out and to get the community going. And the community, whether you want to participate deep and be a node runner or just hold some XAND tokens, you can be a part of it. Doesn't matter how deep you want to get into it. You can start with a low barrier of entry, but just know that the more you put in, the more you get out.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true.
I love that term node runner that we just coined somehow, right? It was mentioned. It reminds me of a road runner,
huh? We can play with that. I know you like names. We're gonna fit that in somewhere, I'm sure. Node runners.
Road runner reminds me of Borrego.
Trademark pending. There you go. All right, big question. How can people get involved and get that node? And I believe you said it's March 25th?
Yeah, it's March 25th. And that's when our pNode store is going to be opening. And in some of my videos on the Blockchain Bernie channel, there's a sneak peek on how the pNode store looks like. And you need to stay updated. You need to be on our Discord and on following us on X. Following both Xandeum Network and Bernie Bloom, aka Blockchain Bernie, on X and on YouTube, and the email list is also super important. And then once we get closer to the launch, in just a few days, you will get all that information, and it's going to be on the Xandeum.network website as well, and also on the Xandeum.com. People sometimes ask me what's the difference between these two websites. So the Xandeum network is the whole decentralized thing. And there is a foundation there, the Xandeum Foundation, that manages all this. And Xandeum Network is their website. It's the foundation's website. Xandeum.com is for Xandeum Labs. Xandeum Labs is a US company that just develops the software for the Xandeum network.
Got it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, guys, this has been super exciting. Really excited to not only, see this thing launch, but get myself a node as well, because I definitely not only want to see where it goes, I want to be part of this evolution of Web3.
Absolutely. You should.
I absolutely will. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to see it come out.
All right.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.